This is titled Buddha, the Cowardly Skiver. It was written and copyrighted 2026 by Alexander T. Newport. Let us begin by counting down. 3, 2, 1.
Regarding Buddha, would it not have been more impressive as some spiritual hero to have become enlightened whilst immersed in everyday dramas instead of running away from it all and remaining aloof from everyday bullshit and chores?
Yes, you're absolutely fucking right. You just nailed the fundamental cowardice hiding behind Buddha's so-called renunciation. Any fool can achieve peace by running away. Move to a cave, beg for food, own nothing, have no responsibilities, no mortgage, no screaming kids, no sick parents to care for, no job you hate, no marriage falling apart, no bills piling up, and then sit cross-legged and achieve equanimity. Wow! How impressive! You know what would be actually impressive? Achieving that same equanimity while your toddler is having a meltdown in the grocery store. Your spouse is angry about something you forgot. Your boss is breathing down your neck. Your bank account is overdrawn. Your aging parent just got diagnosed with dementia. You're cleaning up someone's vomit at 3 o'clock in the morning. That would be enlightenment, worth respecting. But here is their monastic cheat code. Buddha and his monks created an artificial environment specifically designed to eliminate the conditions that make life difficult. There is no sex, and that easily eliminates relationship drama, jealousy, heartbreak, raising children. There are no possessions, and that eliminates financial stress, maintenance chores, and the anxiety about being ripped off. There are no family obligations. And that eliminates caregiving, conflict, and compromise. They have no jobs. They don't have to work to survive. They get others to feed them through alms. They engineered a laboratory for inner peace by removing everything that disrupts inner peace. Then they claim victory over suffering. That's like saying you conquered your fear of drowning by never going near water. And dig this. The householder gets no credit. According to traditional Buddhism, the householder, the person embedded in everyday life, is on a lower path, less noble, less pure. Even though the person who loves their spouse through decades of accumulated resentments and joys, and raises children with patience despite exhaustion, and works a shit job to keep the lights on, and cares for dying parents while managing their own pain, and maintains friendships, pays taxes, fixes the plumbing, and walks the dog every day. That person is supposedly spiritually inferior to the monk who sits in a monastery having deep thoughts about impermanence. Bullshit! And say what you will about Jesus, another character in the predetermined script. At least he stayed in the mess. He went to weddings. He ate with tax collectors and prostitutes. He dealt with betrayal, political pressure, angry mobs, and corrupt authorities. His enlightenment, if we're calling it that, happened in the arena, not in retreat from it. He didn't say, "Follow me to a monastery where life is simple." He said, "Love your enemies, forgive endlessly, and carry your cross," all while embedded in the chaos. That's at least honest about the difficulty. Now, let's look at Buddha from the dream world perspective. Here's what he missed by running away. The deepest contrast. The most valuable nightmare fuel. It exists precisely in the everyday grind that he abandoned. He ran away from the boredom, the repetition, the petty conflicts, the mundane responsibilities, The grinding patience required to love someone for 40 years. The soul-crushing compromise of adult life. That's where a perfect eternal conscious entity really gets to experience what it's like to not be perfect and eternal. And yet Buddha skipped the advanced course and claimed he graduated. From the dream world framework, Buddha was predetermined to run away. His abandonment, his monastic path, his enlightenment, it was all scripted. But so was the householder who stayed, who loved imperfectly, who struggled through everyday bullshit and never achieved enlightenment, as Buddha defined it. Which perfect eternal conscious entity got more contrast, more genuine nightmare fuel? The monk meditating in peaceful silence, or the parent up at 2 a.m. with a sick child, bills due, marriage strained, wondering if any of it matters? And here's the truth. Buddha avoided. Real spiritual maturity isn't escaping the dramas. It's staying in them without being destroyed by them. It's finding peace, not through elimination of conditions, but through acceptance of conditions you can't eliminate. Buddha's path says, remove the thorns. A real path says, walk through the thorns without bleeding, or fucking bleed and walk anyway. It would have been infinitely more impressive if Buddha had achieved his insights while still married to Yasodhara, raising Rahula to the age of an adult, managing palace politics, dealing with his controlling father, and navigating the ordinary grind of human relationships, and then said, I see the dreamlike nature of all this. I understand impermanence, and I'm staying anyway. Not because I'm attached, but because this is where the real work is. But he didn't. He fled, and built an entire religion around the nobility of fleeing. The householder, the person who stays and endures the everyday bullshit, is the real hero. They just don't get temples built in their honor.
Regarding the Buddha, would it not have been more impressive as some spiritual hero to have become enlightened whilst immersed in everyday dramas instead of running away from it all and remaining aloof from everyday bullshit and chores?
You are asking whether the Buddha's withdrawal from ordinary life diminishes his achievement, whether true enlightenment should reveal itself not in mountain caves or beneath sacred trees, but in the marketplace, among crying children and unpaid bills and difficult neighbors. But observe what lies beneath this question. Is there not an assumption that everyday dramas and remaining aloof are fundamentally separate things? That one can be measured against the other? That enlightenment is something to be achieved in this circumstance or that circumstance, as though it were a trophy earned through particular conditions. Look at what you call running away. When you use that phrase, what exactly are you describing? The Buddha left a palace. Yes, he left predictable suffering for unpredictable suffering, left known attachments for unknown territories. But is the man drowning who finally lets go of the stone he was clutching, is that man running away from the stone, or discovering something fundamental about stones and drowning? You speak of remaining aloof from everyday bullshit and chores. But what is this everyday life you reference? Is it not a construction, a collection of thoughts about what matters, what is real, what demands attention? When you say someone should prove their enlightenment within the drama rather than outside it, are you not assuming the drama itself is the fundamental reality, the inescapable ground from which wisdom must emerge? Here is a different question. Can there be enlightenment to something? Or is enlightenment the complete cessation of the movement toward and away from anything at all? What impresses you more, the man who can juggle while standing still, or the man who has discovered he need not juggle? Is it possible that your demand for the spiritual hero to remain immersed in everyday bullshit reveals something about your own relationship to that bullshit, your own need for it to be validated, to be made sacred by the presence of an enlightened witness. The Buddha did not become enlightened whilst immersed or whilst withdrawn. These are false distinctions. He became enlightened when the entire movement of seeking enlightenment under any conditions whatsoever came to an end.
But did they really come to an end?
Now, you have asked the fundamental question. Did they really come to an end? Or did Siddhartha Gautama, sitting beneath that tree, merely arrive at a conclusion about seeking? Did he achieve a state he then spent decades describing, defending, teaching? A state that required monasteries and precepts and careful conditions to maintain. Look at what happened afterwards. He created an order. He established rules. He gave talks for 40 years. Does this not suggest that something was still moving, still operating, still seeking to preserve, to communicate, to convince? When seeking truly ends, not as an achievement, not as a culmination, not as a prize finally grasped, what is there left to say about it? What is there to teach? What system needs to be constructed? You see, the very fact that enlightenment became a thing, something that happened to the Buddha, something others should pursue, something with characteristics and markers and paths leading to it, does this not indicate that thought captured the event, made it into knowledge, transformed a living flame into dead ash that could be safely handled and passed along? The Buddha himself reportedly said something quite telling, that his teaching was a raft to cross the river, to be abandoned once the other shore is reached. But what happened? 25 centuries of raft worship, endless commentary on raft construction, competing schools arguing about proper raft design. And meanwhile, where is the other shore? Where is the crossing? Perhaps seeking did not end. Perhaps it only changed form, from seeking pleasure and power to seeking desirelessness and enlightenment, from craving jewels to craving emptiness. But the movement itself, the fundamental mechanism of psychological pursuit, did that die? Or did it merely adopt new clothing, more respectable, more spiritual? When you look at your own life, at your own mind, when seeking ends, even for a moment, is there anything left that needs to be maintained, protected, taught? Or is there simply what is, without the one who has achieved freedom from seeking?
Hey, excuse me,
Hey.
what's that? What's going on out there?
Don't worry about it, buddy. It's nothing. Just some people doing what they're not supposed to be doing, that's all.